What's up, guys? Welcome to K-Shot Connor. I am Connor. Another week, another back-to-back pay-per-view for the UFC. This time, UFC 325 going down in Australia. I believe Sydney. Is it Sydney, Perth? One of the two? Melbourne? I don't know. Those are the only like three cities in Australia that matter to anyone outside of Australia. Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopes 2. A very undeserving title shot for Diego Lopez, gotta be honest. And I don't know, it's weird. It's a weird feeling heading into this pay-per-view. The first undisputed title fight we're getting in this Paramount era. And I'm not really feeling the excitement for it. I think it's just too soon for this rematch to be happening. I think there was more deserving guys that we would have been more excited for if they were fighting Alexander Volkanovski. And so it leaves this one kind of feeling a bit odd, which is weird because it's like, when are we going to get our first undisputed title fight in this Paramount era that we're all actually excited for? Of course, last week, UFC 324, we got an interim title fight, and that was great, but still not an undisputed one. This week, this one feels kind of weird. The next numbered event is Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira, which is, of course, the BMF belt, which is a fake belt. So it's like, I don't know when I guess sometime in April. And who knows who's headlining that card. So all of them are kind of feel weird thus far. I mean, shit, it might not be till this fucking White House card where we get our first undisputed title fight, which is a crazy thing to say. Surely we'll get one in April, man. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Before we get into the whole breakdown here, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, do all that fun shit. I'd very much appreciate it. All right, let's get into the full breakdown here. Of course, in your main event, Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez. Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez 2, that is. Volkanovski coming in at -154. Diego Lopez coming in at +120. I believe Diego Lopez was a bit of a favorite heading into the first fight, and it was kind of swapped. I think it was just about this close of odds, but the odds were flipped here on which fighter is the favorite, which fighter wasn't. Of course, Alexander Volkanovski's last fight was against Diego Lopez, in which he recaptured UFC featherweight gold after losing it to one Ilia Topuria the year before. And for some reason, Alexander Volkanovski took like almost a whole year off here. I know that was back in April, so I guess he took about 9 months off. I wonder what the reason for the long layoff was. I don't know if we ever got the whole reasoning for that. Maybe it was because he was shooting that Street Fighter movie, or I don't know if Volk was injured and we just don't know about it or what. But typically, as you all well know, Volkanovski is very active, has been very active as champion. So I definitely would have suspected him to have gotten another fight in last year. I don't know the particular reason why that didn't happen. Of course, in their first fight, Alexander Volkanovski did look great. Dropped a couple rounds to Diego Lopez, but overall, just a pretty technical dominant fight from Alexander Volkanovski to recapture that featherweight gold. Was really able to capitalize in the kickboxing realm and make it look like he was just, the overall better striker, which of course he is, and really found a way to get around that reach and that long length style that Diego Lopez possesses. And I'll be curious to see if he can do that again. Of course, Volkanovski been champ for so long now. Title fights against Max Holloway, title wins over Max Holloway, title wins over Brian Ortega, Yair Rodriguez, the Korean Zombie. Really took out a who's who at featherweight until he ran into Islam Makhachev up at lightweight, and then dropped back down, fought Ilia Topuria, ran into him at featherweight, and then that became a whole mess. And then went on to recapture the gold. Diego Lopez coming off that win over John Silva. See, Diego Lopez did get another fight in after the Volkanovski loss, and still just curious why Volkanovski didn't. Diego Lopez versus John Silva was a fantastic fight, in my top 10 of best fights of the year. If you guys checked out that video, was able to knock John Silva out with a spinning elbow, which of course even more impressive now after John Silva's win over Arnold Allen from last weekend. How is this one gonna go here in the rematch? I think pretty similarly to how the last fight went. I don't think it's been quite long enough for Diego Lopez to have gotten the experience and gotten so much better, or as much better as he would need to be able to beat Alexander Volkanovski. I don't think he's been able to do that in the last 9 months. At least I doubt it. and so I think it's gonna look very similarly to the last fight, maybe a bit closer because of course Volkanovski is of course now a bit older, and he's just gonna slow down with age. That's only natural, and Diego Lopez should be a bit better, but like I'm saying, I don't think it's gonna be enough for Diego Lopez to overcome Alexander Volkanovski. So I am picking Volk. I'm picking Volk by decision. I think it's going to be a bit of a closer fight this time. Not that the last fight wasn't close; it was close, and so maybe that will be just enough for Diego Lopez. I won't be shocked if Diego Lopez wins. I'd kind of be shocked if he won a decision. I think if Diego Lopez is gonna win, he's gonna win by a finish. But nonetheless, I'm picking Alexander Volkanovski. I think this time Diego Lopez will probably win 2 of the 3 rounds, and Volk will win obviously the other 3. And so yeah, taking Volkanovski by decision. I think it's gonna look very similar to the last fight. Just don't think we've given this one enough time. Not really sure what the UFC's purpose was in rebooking the rematch so soon. In your co-main event, Dan Hooker is taking on Benoit Saint Denis. Dan Hooker coming in at plus 250. Benoit Saint Denis coming in at minus 340. Awesome fight. Love that they put this one together here. Dan Hooker, of course, coming off that loss to Armin Sarukian from just back in November, so only a couple months ago, in which he lost by arm triangle. Pretty much just got out grappled in that fight, outworked by the much younger, much stronger, much better Armin Sarukian. Dan Hooker, of course, you know him, you love him. Been putting on wars for years now. Before that, he was coming off a big win over Mateus Gamrot. Before that, he was coming off a big win over Jalen Turner. So he was on a good streak beforehand. And of course, been in wars throughout his career. A long time UFC vet at this point. I believe he made his debut in 2014. So been around the UFC for 12 years already. This is his 24th fight in the organization. So that's absolutely insane. Benoit Saint Denis coming off that big win over Beneil Dariush from back in November himself. So quick turnaround for him as well. He's been very active as of late since he started this new win streak that he's got going on here. Before that, he what was it? He beat Mauricio Ruffi, of course, who is also on this card. He submitted Mauricio Ruffi in the second round back at UFC Paris. So that was only 2 months before that. DSD really on like a 2 month turnaround here. That's absolutely insane for back-to-back fights, and then before that, he defeated Kyle Perpechek. Perpelek. Forget that guy's name, last name, whatever. You understand what I'm saying? On the UFC card in Canada, that was headline. Which one was that? That was the Bilal Muhammad versus JDM card. So it started his new win streak on there, riding a 3-fight win streak, heading into this one. Very entertaining fight here between BSD and Dan Hooker. I could see a world where Dan Hooker is able to do something very similar to Dustin Poirier, weather the early storm. And Dan Hooker has pretty underrated takedown defense, or just solid takedown defense. He really was able to showcase that in the Mateus Gamrot fight. And I do think if Dan Hooker's able to do that, if he's able to stuff a few takedowns and keep it on the feet, he doesn't even have to stuff all the takedowns. Even if he does get taken down, he just has to be able to get back up a couple times and last 2 or 3 rounds, or no, excuse me, this fight's only 3 rounds. So last 2 rounds, make it to the third. Hopefully DSD is slowed down by that point, and then Dan Hooker can really start putting it on him. Gonna be tough. I do think Dan Hooker's chin isn't as durable as Dustin Poirier's was when him and BSD fought. So I do worry about that a little bit, but I'm leaning towards Dan Hooker here, guys. I think Dan Hooker might be able to get this one done. I just think BSD. What happens when the fight gets tough? What happens when BSD's cut up? He's tired. He's bloody, and Dan Hooker's just in his fucking face. Does he shut down again? What happens when BSD is met with some adversity here? That's kind of what I question with BSD. Still, he's clearly very good. He possesses a lot of power. He has good grappling. He has everything. But when he's met with adversity, it seems like he shuts down a little bit, and I'm betting on that to happen again. So I'm picking Dan Hooker by TKO in round 3. That's going to be my official pick. I won't be surprised at all if BSD comes out here and starches him right away, or if he's able to grapple him and gets a submission pretty quickly. But my gut is telling me that Dan Hooker will get this one done. He'll get a TKO in the third round. That's what I'm going with. I think BSD is going to break down at some point throughout this fight, and Dan Hooker's going to be able to capitalize on that. In your next fight, Rafael Fiziev is taking on Mauricio Ruffy. Ruffy coming in at -132. Rafael Fiziev coming in at +104. Awesome fight here. Striker's delight this fight for sure. Rafael Fiziev coming off that big win over Ignacio Bahamondos from not that long ago, I believe just last summer. Of course, he was supposed to fight Charles Oliveira in the main event, the UFC Brazil card back in October. Had to pull out of that one due to injury, which is very unfortunate for Rafael Fiziev. I feel like Rafael Fiziev is really at the point right now where he has to string together some wins and get going here. He's 32 now, has all the skills in the world to become a champion, I think, or at least contend for the belt in this lightweight division. He just really needs to put a good streak together here. He really just needs to put it all together here. You're in your athletic prime. It's like now's the time. Put your foot on the gas if you're Rafael Fiziev, and I think he knows that. And he's really got to come out on top in all these fights. Every fight for Rafael Fiziev now is the most important fight in his career. And I know fighters say that about all their fights, but it really is do or die time for Rafael Fiziev, I feel, because once you hit that 35-ish age at this lightweight division, it's kind of over. You can't keep up with these young guys, especially in the lightweight division where it's the hardest division in the sport. Uh, of course, before that, Rafael Fiziev fought Justin Gaethje, lost that one, split decision, close fight. Who knows how that fight would have went if that was 5 rounds? You know, Rafael Fiziev looked better than Paddy Pimblett did last weekend. That's for sure. In the second Justin Gaethje fight, and you know, it's like Rafael Fiziev is right there. He really is. He just he has to keep winning and string these together. Like I was saying, it's a shame that Charles Oliveira fight didn't happen, because if he was able to win that, that obviously would have put him over and he'd be in title shot contention already. Of course, Mauricio Ruffy coming off that loss to BSD, which we already talked about a little bit, and he looked awful that fight. He looked stuck in the mud, as McGregor would say, in that fight. Wasn't able to get going at all. Of course, Mauricio Ruffy, a former member of the Fighting Nerds, no longer with the Fighting Nerds, which I find very interesting. He has joined the City Kickboxing, I think, or whatever Volkanovski's team is. I don't know if that's like directly City Kickboxing adjacent, if you want to call it. And so now he's training with them. I don't know if that's like his permanent gym now, but he's definitely had a full camp there now, and that worries me a little bit because it's like you never get enough time. He's only been over there for a handful of months, so you really don't get enough time to like really get to know your coaches, get to know your teammates, and he was rushed right into camp as well when he was with this team. So it's like all he really did is have a camp there. He hasn't really had time to learn new things from this gym and implement them into his game. He's just been there for a training camp really. So it kind of worries me a little bit that he left the Fighting Nerds, especially when the Fighting Nerds still seem very good. Like I don't really see why you would leave after a few losses unless there's something going on between them personally. I have no fucking idea. But before that, of course, Mauricio Ruffy knocked out Bobby Green before the BSD fight, when probably the knockout of the year still, or of 2025, that is, with a spinning wheel kick, and that was fucking brutal. Just brutally KO Bobby Green, slept him with a wheel kick. Mauricio Ruffy, very fun fighter to watch. So this should be a very entertaining fight. I'm picking Rafael Fiziev, even though he's the underdog here. I think Fiziev is going to be able to put it together here. I think he's going to be a little too sharp for Mauricio Ruffy, and I could even see Fiziev turning to the grappling if he needs to. I think Fiziev does possess some good takedowns. He's very strong, good top control. So I think I could see a round or two where Fiziev relies on the grappling. I think it'll be somewhat of a close fight. Should be a fun fight while it's on, but I think Fiziev will get this one done by decision. In her next fight, Tai Tuivasa is making his return against Allison Teixeira. Allison Teixeira coming in at -330. Tai Tuivasa coming in at +240. Tuivasa hasn't been around in a minute. Been out for about 18 months here. His last fight was against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, in which he lost. He's on a 5-fight losing streak, which is just incredible. Most guys to get cut. Tai Tuivasa is very lucky. He's a fan favorite. Otherwise, the UFC would not have kept him around. And then before that, he lost to Marcin Tybura. Before that, he lost to Alexander Volkov. Before that, he lost to Sergey Pavlovich. Before that, he lost to Cyril Gane, and that kind of started this terrible losing streak for Tai Tuivasa, because he was looking fantastic before that. Had the big win over Derek Lewis right before that, and Yeah, ever since hasn't been able to put a win together, and it's a damn shame because Tai Tuivasa is such a fun fighter to have on this roster, and such a fun fighter to have in the heavyweight division. And this heavyweight division desperately needs fun fighters like Tai Tuivasa. We're so far gone from the days of like the Alistair Overeems, the Mark Hunts, the Fabricio Verdums, Cain Velasquez, Junior Dos Santos, those type of guys that they would just headline fight nights with those type of guys nonstop. There would be a heavyweight fight night main event that you're actually excited for with one of those guys in it like every other fucking month. And that's just not the case. And just don't have the talent in this heavyweight division right now. There's some guys coming up that are pretty exciting, but we desperately need more exciting heavyweights, more athletic heavyweights. It just does not seem like the money is there for these bigger guys to be enticed to get into MMA. Of course, Taitu Ross are well known for his shoeys. Telson Teixeira coming off that loss over Derek Lewis, in which he got pretty brutally knocked out. It wasn't that brutal, but he got knocked out by Derek Lewis on that UFC Nashville card back in July of last year. Only 1-1 in the UFC, and this guy was already ranked. I hate that. Like, I don't understand how that even happened. He had one win over Justin Taffa, I believe, Junior Taffa, one of the Taffa brothers, the one that got cut recently. He has a win over him. Knocked him out with a nice elbow, and of course he had a contender series win before that. But Telson Teixeira has not impressed me that much in the UFC. I mean, it was a nice knockout, but I don't know. I hate that the heavyweight division is so shallow that a guy can get one win and get ranked, and also get a fight night main event against a guy like Derek Lewis. There's guys at lightweight that are 10 times more talented that should be headlining events against big names or should be able to crack into the rankings, but they're on like 5 fight win streaks. Still can't get a ranked fight, but up at heavyweight, division's so shallow, and people like watching the big guys fight that you get the path paved for you a little bit easier. Nonetheless, I'm picking Taito Rossi here. This is a pick for my heart. I really need Taito Rossi to win this one. I want to see that man drink some beer out of his shoe. So I'm picking Taito Rossi by round one KO. I think he's hopefully the break did him well, and hopefully he was able to stay in shape that time. I know for a fact he wasn't, so I don't know. Maybe it's the Hobie I'm talking with this one. I'm picking Taito Rossi. I'm round one KO. I want to see him do Shui. In the opening in the main card, Killian Salakid is taking on Jamie Malarkey. Killian coming in at a minus 111. Malarkey coming in at a plus 600. I believe this is a short notice replacement. I forget who Salakid was originally supposed to fight. Of course, Salakid coming on off that big head kick KO win from back at UFC 321. One of the best knockouts of the year. Absolutely brutal. He's running a 3 fight win streak in the UFC and looking like a decent prospect in this UFC lightweight division. Malarkey, UFC vet, coming off a win in his last performance as well. Has really only lost to like really high level guys, so you got to be pretty good to beat Jamie Malarkey. I do think Killian Salakid will be able to do just that. Picking Salakid by knockout round one. Just gonna go with that. I could see a world where a nice little drops him and then jumps on the back, gets a choke for Salakid as well. That one surprised me. But yeah, Salakid, I think the odds are spot on here. Salakid's definitely gonna win, and he should probably win pretty quickly. Here goes a look at the picks for the rest of my card, or for the rest of the card, I should say. Picks, of course, in green. I have the method, which I think they will win in parentheses there. If you're better, feel free to take up any of these. Oban Elliott on the prelims. Looking forward to that one. That Torzy Finney guy, I know is being coached by Daniel Cormier now. Picking him by unanimous decision. Junior Taffa, so it must be Justin Taffa is the one that got caught. Junior Taffa, also on the card, headlining the prelims, picking him by TKO round one. So some decent prelims here. I gotta be honest, the first 4 fights, I have no fucking clue who those guys are. I think they're Road to the UFC guys, and I don't think anyone in the world actually watches Road to the UFC. So I guess we'll find out when we're watching who those guys are. And I'm looking forward to it. UFC 325, decent card, not the best card in the world, but whatever. Top 3 fights are absolutely fantastic. The rest of the main card's pretty good as well. Prelims are pretty dog shit, pretty dog shit. But whatever, I will be watching the whole thing because I am a degenerate. Thank you all so much for watching. Please remember to subscribe. We'll have fun shit. I'll catch you guys in the next one.